Hi, welcome to Bloodhouse, the show where we talk about art house horror movies. I'm your host, Joshua Conkle.
Hostess with the mostest, Drusilla Adeline. Welcome, welcome, welcome this week. How are you doing today, Josh?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I actually had to wake up earlier than usual to watch the movie that we're about to talk about, which is
Oh,
a hard breakfast movie.
it's a really tough day starter. I
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the Breakfast of Champions. I'm gonna apologize because I didn't do that today, and I'm kind of operating at a manic 11 today.
Yeah,
So we're
I
gonna be on
haven't
different wavelengths for this.
I haven't had a lot of time this month because it's October, of course, which
Yes.
for people like us is busy season. This is my boyfriend's first October living with me, and he laughed because
Oh,
we were at my friend's like pumpkin carving party, and we were talking about doing something. And my friend Mia was like, "Well, we can do it after the holidays." And by after the holidays, she meant October.
she meant November 5th.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, when you say the holidays, do you mean Halloween in October? And she's like, yeah.
Yeah.
And like all of us knew what she meant because literally every night it's like a screening, a pumpkin carving, a
Yeah.
seance, whatever. So
I mean, it's kind of starts like in mid no September a little
yeah,
bit,
it
especially for
does.
people in like my circle even, where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, we're gonna like start planning our spooky activities, and by planning our spooky activities, it means pulling a full Jennifer Tilly and Bride of Chucky and sitting on the floor with candles and seances and being like, this is our October plan. You're already
Yeah.
doing your October plan, honey. It's very sweet. I've done everything I can to only watch horror movies all month. Um, with the occasional like art house kind of contemporary film bipping in I
Yeah.
need to go see in theaters. But yeah, it's been like one thing after another. Well, because the other great thing is like every theater, whether it's an AMC and a Regal or the New Art and the New Beverly and stuff like that, is screening nothing but great horror movies all month.
Yeah. I mean, that's like sort of a competitive sport too, because you have to get the
Hmm.
calendars for like New Bev and
And you've got to get the tickets
Arrow.
early or they're
Yes,
gonna
yes,
sell
yes.
out, and you've got to
Yeah,
like schedule, okay, this is on this day, but freaking Pink Flamingos is on this day,
totally.
and then oh my god, these movies are on this day. Can we do both in the same day, or you have to like kill your darlings and choose which one you have to go to?
Sophie's Choice
It's
style.
yeah. The only way in my life I've ever felt like Meryl Streep. Um, it's beautiful and
Yeah.
incredible. And I mean, the Count Chocula and the Frankenberry overflow.
Mhm.
It's such a beautiful time. And I know this, you're listening to this episode in the beginning of November, and that is after the holidays. However, like, not until the beginning of December
Yeah.
are we out of Halloween season, guys.
Yeah, I love it. It is exhausting though. I mean, yeah, I mean, we're lucky. It's a nice life, but I'm tired. That's all.
And
That's all
Joel's
I have
kind
to
of
say.
like, yeah, that's true. I'm kind of in the like dead end shuffle of
Hmm.
Halloween season at the moment, where like I kind of have gotten my runner's like second win. I was definitely hitting a wall last weekend where I was like, oh, good God.
Yeah.
This past week. It was very stressful, a lot of stuff going on. And then the past like 2 or 3 days, I've just kind of been like, okay, here we go. Let's fucking get there. It's gonna be a lot more fun before it's over. And
Yeah.
Joel's so lucky to be able to like be a part of that group and community and like spooky world of LA in October, but also
Hmm.
like to be shepherded through it through you is like marvelous.
Well, the thing is that he doesn't understand or care. I mean, he's very supportive. He's very supportive, but he'll meet somebody who's like an absolute legend in this world and have no idea who they are, and then I explain it later. Do you know what I mean? Like in the car ride home. So it's sort of ideal because I know his love for me is genuine and not because
Hmm.
he can like meet some famous horror person because he truly is not impressed by any of this. The one starstruck moment that he had was, so Joel is like a number one fan of Cheers, the sitcom.
Hmm.
And of course, I'm friends with the DeVitos, so he got to meet Rhea Perlman, and that really sort of freaked
Aw,
him out because he loves Carla so much. And that's
that's
it.
incredible. That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Norm.
George Wendt.
George Wendt, because George Wendt is very much a staple in the LA horror like scene.
Yeah.
He's
I
in like
asked,
every modern horror film.
totally. I asked Joel if he ever seen House that George Wendt is in. He was like, nope. So we'll watch that this week or next.
Oh, that's a perfect Halloween movie.
Yeah, it's a comedy, so that's good for Joel too. And so, yeah.
And House 2, the second story, is such a like
It's so
cute
weird.
delight follow up to it.
Yeah. How
Well,
are
have you
you?
guys watched? Oh, I'm good. I mean, like, as you can tell from my voice, I am like crazy buzzing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Things are going. I mean, things were going shitty, and now they're going not shitty, and I'm appreciating that not shitty time. I don't know.
Oh, we love
It's pretty-
that.
We love that. I kind of got my house decorated for the season. Finally, that's gonna stay up for the next year, presumably.
Hmm.
I've just been like, binging good stuff in the background and like making art, and I'm so excited by it for once. Not that I'm not all the time, but I'm like really into the stuff that I'm working on and making, both like design wise, artistically for myself, and also like writing wise. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy. I'm at a very like comfortable place with myself intellectually and creatively, which is really fun, and I
I
haven't
love
been
that.
there in a while.
Yeah.
It's been nice, and a lot of that is in part to kind of our October glut of horror films I've been
Hmm.
watching.
Love that. Anything good?
So, a fucking few things. I should say off the top of the bat, not even horror related. I went to go see Tar this week. Um,
I'm dying to see that, and I haven't gotten
you're
to
gonna
it.
love Tar specifically.
I know,
Tar
I
feels
know.
like scientifically engineered for you as a person tonally.
Yeah.
I will say that Tar not narratively, but stylistically, for at least half of the film, is a horror film.
Okay.
It picks up a lot of the editing patterns, frame structure, and cinematic language of something like Roman Polanski's apartment films,
Oh,
or
boy.
it does some of the same tricks as something like Lake Mungo or Hereditary in a
Mhm.
good portion of the first half of the movie. But the thing that's fucking incredible about it is that it centers it all around Cate Blanchett's incredible central lead performance, so that by the time you get to the second half of the movie, which turns it around and kind of becomes a comedy instead, it works. And you don't like, they're both very subtle.
Mhm.
It's like very subtly suspenseful and scary and fucked up, and then at the very back half it's very subtly darkly funny, and if you're like been in it for as long as it is, you're gonna have a really good time. The final reveal in the movie, the last shot reveal of what's happening at the end, is so insanely funny.
Ooh. I'm so excited.
It's a delight. I mean, it's getting a lot of the art house praise and a lot
Yeah.
of the awards buzz praise, and that's definitely how they're marketing it, as like, look at Cate Blanchett go be incredible. And that's a lot of the appeal of the movie, but there's so much more beyond that, and it's
Yeah.
so fun. However, that was a good time in the theater. The best fucking time I had in the theater this week, or any other week this year, was I went to the New Beverly
Hmm.
at the top of the week with a few friends of mine, to go see a little film directed by one of the great female filmmakers of our time, Catherine Hardwicke's Twilight,
Oh.
followed by the 2002 Anne Rice adaptation with serious quotes around the word adaptation, Queen of the Damned, starring Aaliyah.
I've never seen either of those movies. Wait, no, that's not true. I
I
did see Twilight. I've seen Twilight.
Twilight. Okay, so as listeners may know, I like vampires. So I didn't have the typical like I'm of the age that like Twilight came out when I was in school and everyone was
Mhm.
obsessed with it. But I was an angsty teenage boy at the time who was too busy reading other vampire fiction by authors who would eventually come out as trans. um, and so I couldn't be fucked. Years later, one of my best friends, who was one of those Twilight girls, in like middle school and high school, sat me down and was like, "No, no, 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 no! You're gonna love this movie and these movies because it's basically like all of those like CW vampire shows, like Buffy
Mhm.
or Vampire Diaries and all that stuff, but given the cinematic treatment."
Mhm.
So it's as gorgeous and as bombastic and as filmic as you would hope it would be, starring the sexiest people alive, Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart, while also
Course.
being as melodramatic and silly and ridiculous as you would expect from Riverdale and the Vampire Diaries and, like, to a lesser extent, Buffy for all
Mhm.
of its good qualities. It's great. It's a hoot. I'm a big fan of the series. They're messy and written by a Mormon woman who I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't they have weird like sex ideas in them? I mean,
they have
very
super weird.
conservative.
They have very conservative sex ideas, and basically the whole first movie is Robert Pattinson like giving her weird eyes the whole time and being like afraid of her. And he's like, "'Cause I can't help myself. I just want you so bad. Oh my God. I'm gonna tear you apart." And she's like, "Yes, please." And he's like, "But I can't. We gotta be married first." And it has all of the like CWYA fiction passion you would want of like unrequited romance. But it also has all of the Christian views on sex of like, ugh, guys.
See, this is why, like, whenever a 22-year-old on Twitter says something insane about age gaps or some weird consent tweet or whatever, I'm like, this is because of Twilight. I know it. I just know it in my gut.
I mean, I went with friends. One is my like best friend who like she's seen this since like high school and was obsessed with the books. She and I both wore Twilight t-shirts. I wore a Team Edward shirt. She wore a vintage Twilight poster shirt from like 2008 Hot Topic era.
Mm-hmm.
She brought her boyfriend who has seen the films before a few times, and he went in cosplay as Kristen Stewart's dad in the film. So flannel shirt and mustache.
Yeah.
And then I brought a friend with me who had never seen the film before. She was actually mostly there for Queen of the Damned.
Mm-hmm.
However, she's a big Buffy fan, and specifically a big Angel fan and shipper, which
Mm-hmm.
is wrong, but I'll let her have that opinion. And the entire time she was like, "Oh my God, he's such a fucking creep. Robert Pattinson's like hot, but he's like such a little fucking creep in this movie. He's like like lurking in her bedroom every night, and he's like, yeah, I've been doing this for months." And at the end of the movie, I was like, "Yeah, okay, but that's what Angel did." Like,
Yeah.
Twilight is Buffy fanfic. That's not even like a joke. That's kind of what it was written
Yeah.
as. And then all of the shitty things that Joss Whedon put in it were then filtered through the lens of internalized misogyny and Christian like sex beliefs by a Mormon woman. So like all of the shitty things about him are also the shitty things about Angel.
I have
Angel might be
several-
worse than Edward, actually.
I have several things to say about this. First of all, I watched Buffy for the first time when it was already like ending. So I was starting season 1 on DVD as season 7 was airing, kind of. And so I knew that Angel was leaving the show eventually. And I just hated him immediately from season 1. I was like, get rid of this character. Like, send him off to his own show. Because all
Especially
he did
with
was...
season 3, he's just like there.
Yeah, he's so insufferable. He takes up air. It's just like, get this character off the show. He's just brooding and boring. And he's much more likable on his own show. I liked Angel
Yeah.
and I liked him on Angel. I just didn't want him with Buffy and I didn't even want him on that show. Number 2 thing I have to say is that I got my driver's license in Forks, Washington. Of course, years before Twilight started because I grew up in that area. And it's so funny because Forks is truly like a nothing town. It's like a little logger town with a diner and that's about it. But once Twilight happened, there would be these like tours of, little girls mostly, and it's like there's nothing to look at in this town. It's also like, I don't know, my friend Amber went to Verona, Italy once, and she went on this Romeo and Juliet tour where they were like, this is Juliet's balcony and stuff like that. And it's like, well, it's a work of fiction, though. It didn't actually happen in this city. And that's kind of the vibe of Forks in Twilight. And yeah. And then the third thing I'll say is that I remember that they filmed the prom in the Twilight movie at Kayana Lodge, which is this place where I worked in Suquamish, which is the reservation.
Oh, yeah, the end of the film.
Yeah. And it's also where the Martells live in Twin Peaks.
Yes!
Their house is the same place, and it's also where they found Laura Palmer's body in the pilot of Twin Peaks, Suquamish,
Oh my
Washington.
God!
Yeah,
That's
it's this beautiful
awesome.
venue where like people have weddings and stuff like that, and it's gorgeous. Yeah,
My new headcanon is that the Twilight universe takes place in the same universe as Twin Peaks. So
Yeah.
to watch Twin Peaks in full, you have to watch Twin Peaks Season 1, Season 2, Fire Walk with Me. All of the Twilight films, and then Twin Peaks The Return. That's the way to do it.
I love that.
The second movie was Queen of the Damned, which I want to talk about really quickly because I absolutely saw this movie in like the 8th grade. However, it was on background on like HBO or Cinemax or whatever while I was like making out. So like in someone's basement. That's the only context in which I saw it. So I like just remember hearing like thuddy 2000s heavy metal and then like seeing a lot of like goth fashion and eyeliner, and that those are my memories of it. I have yet to read the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles. I'm actually starting now. So, and I also like never listened to Aaliyah before, so I didn't like, I'm not, I really kind of don't know that much about her other than that she died.
Yeah,
and she was very big. She acted in this movie and then she died, and everyone is very disappointed of this movie because of it's marketed as like Aaliyah's last thing and she's barely in it.
Right.
And that it's also like a heavy like condensation truncation of 2 Anne Rice books into one movie that is not even remotely about either of them. However, having said that, as someone who has neither of those bits of baggage about the movie, I thought it was fucking awesome. This should come as no surprise after I was just talking about Dracula 2000 and how much I love that movie. But Stuart Townsend is like super hot as Lestat. And he's super bitchy and he's super faggy and he's a delight. I was super shocked to see Wet Hot American Summer's Marguerite Moreau as the
really?
secondary female interest character in this movie.
Weird. Yeah, that would shock me too.
Such a weird vibe because she's like in these like seductive scenes with Lestat, and I keep expecting her to call him Coop, and it's very it's very bizarre. You know what? I fucking loved it. I had a really, really, really good time. It was super loud, and like almost the entire, like 80% of the audience left after Twilight. It's like barely anyone else there. And everyone just got so into Queen of the Damned so fast. It is, I mean, it's, if you've seen Interview with the Vampire, Lestat, Tom Cruise's character, is recast as Stuart Townsend, and he has decided to like just go into like hibernation after the events of Interview because he's like, I'm tired of the world. I'm sick of everything. And then the sound of heavy metal wakes him up from his New Orleans coffin, and he decides, I'm gonna be a rock star. And all of the music was written by Jonathan Davis of Korn.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's so specifically late 90s, early 2000s kind of music the entire time, and it is such a heavy choice. And you know what? At surface level of like, here's a fucking fun, dumb vampire movie where like you get everything you want. The vampires are sexy, hot, have a good time. Everyone who you want to get turned into a vampire gets turned into a vampire. Being a vampire is fun and like broody and emotional in this time, and it's all gonna end good. It was a hoot. It was delightful. Paul McGann from Withnell and I guess Doctor Who, is also in it as a gay little vampire scholar who's obsessed with a Christ age old vampire, and he's like, I'll never meet them, but I'm gonna write all their history down in this little book. And then at the very end of the movie, that vampire shows up and he's like, hey dude, and you're like, they're gonna fall in love. A happy ending for the gays.
It's so funny that you say corn, because whenever I talk about 2000s horror movies, like the bad ones that I hate, I always say they have corn with the K vibes. Parentheses derogatory.
That's the insane thing, is that the visual vibes are not corn with a K, but the soundtrack vibes is corn with a K, which is super bizarre. Because imagery corn with a K gives me like House of Wax remake and like some of the Rob Zombie movies. Not that those are bad. I really enjoy those movies. That's just like, that's that vibe. But Queen of the Damned is closer to Dracula 2000 in terms of that. Like, we put the blue filter on everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. I had a lot of fun. I know everyone shits on it for like
I've never seen
valid reasons, but
I was in college when it came out, and I think I was just like too busy and poor and distracted and all those things that you are in college. So I just never saw it.
I had a lot of fun. I thought it was a delight. I know you've been super busy with the holiday season. But have you been able to like catch anything of late outside of a breakfast watch of tonight's fucking insane movie?
Well, it's weird because as much as you watch movies during this season, it's rare that I get to see a movie I haven't seen, because you're mostly going to screenings of old movies that you love and that sort of thing. So I really haven't seen anything new. The one thing I did revisit that I hadn't watched in a long time, and I was the only one in the room who had seen it before, is 1982's Alone in the Dark with Donald Pleasance and Jack Palance. And I thought it was really scary and good. It's from that era where, it's the early 80s, so slashers were in full effect, but it's still early enough that people were trying weird things and just like throwing things at the wall to see what would stick. So it doesn't really feel like a slasher a lot of the time. But it is one of those movies where like the electricity goes out in the mental institution and 4 lunatics escape. And so instead of one slasher, you've got 4 killers menacing this family during a power outage. There's a lot that's really scary about it. So I really loved it. And if anyone hasn't seen it, I recommend it. And it does have one of my very favorite, one of the weird specific things that I'm obsessed with, which is...
I know what you're going to say. I know exactly what you're going to say.
Punk bands or new wave bands performing in 80s movies. And this has a great one, a band called the Sick Fucks performing Chop Up Your Mother. It's so good and cool.
It's the highlight of the film, in my opinion. Absolutely. And I went down a whole rabbit hole of that band, and the male lead singer is in another band, a real band called Black Randy, and he appears in one of my favorite movies, Ladies and Gentlemen, The Fabulous Stains, with that band. And then the 2 sisters of the movie, in the band, started and operated a really famous vintage store in New York called Trash and Vaudeville, which was on St. Mark's Place. And they invented Manic Panic hair dye and founded that company. Isn't that crazy? That's insane.
Yeah. Anyway, great song, great band.
I mean,
fine movie.
Alone in the Dark, the gift that keeps on giving, truly.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really good. Pretty scary.
It's so underrated.
Yeah.
That falls really in line with the like few of the early 80s slashers that I really love, like Happy Birthday to Me,
Happy Birthday to Me,
My Bloody Valentine, and Prom Night, and those kind of ones that were like, it feels like someone heard about slasher movies were going on, but they hadn't watched any slasher movies yet, so they were like, oh, okay, so like, low budget and someone's going around killing people. Okay, cool. Yeah, I got it. Whatever. I don't need to go see Halloween. Fuck that shit. I'm gonna go make this thing. Those are the best ones.
Yeah. My Bloody Valentine scares the shit out of me every time I watch it. The
Same.
setting of that, like, can't be beat. That coal mine is, like, so scary. The whole, I mean, just the setting, the characters feel very alive for a movie like that. It's scary. The end scares me a lot, too.
Yeah. Harry Warden as a character design is horrifying. I've got,
Yeah.
like, toys of him around my house because I love that character design, but it's also, like, deeply unsettling. The remake is even, like, genuinely, like, very good and very scary.
Yeah, I remember I had fun with that when I saw it, because it was 3D and I saw it in the theater and I thought it was fun. I ripped off My Bloody Valentine for one of my episodes of a series of unfortunate events because it took place in a scary hospital. So I had Count Olaf walking down the hallways, smashing the lights. And then I also ripped it off when I worked on Chilling Adventures of Sabrina because Roberta wanted to do an episode about like killer miners. And it's like, oh, you have to have them smashing the lights with their pickaxes. So every show I've worked on so far, except for Dead Boys, has ripped off My Bloody Valentine. But there's still time.
There's still time. I love that so much. My Bloody Valentine is a very special place in my heart because it was the first slasher I saw, and it was one of my like horror gateway films, and so I love it very dearly. But also that hospital episode that you talk about of Series of Unfortunate Events was my favorite Series of Unfortunate Events book when I was a kid. And so when I saw that episode for the first time, I was like, oh my god, Josh wrote this episode, and oh my god, all of the references in it. Holy shit. It felt like scientifically made for me. It's one of my favorite pieces of television.
Oh, thanks.
Now that all the fun, gooey stuff is out of the way, let's talk about the other gooey, less fun stuff.
The Best Breakfast of Champions from 1981, directed by Andrei Zulawski, starring Sam Neill and the fabulous Isabelle Adjani. We are talking about Possession.
What's going to happen to us? After you! Stop coming! Why I have to go? I'll follow you.
Oh my god. Possession. Yeah. Who could have thought that we would talk about Possession?
It's sort of wild that we waited this long because I consider this one of the biggies of art house horror, don't you?
Oh, yeah. This is like top 5 of like essentials. But I think because of that, my snooty little ass was. we can't just start with that. It's also like, you know, having a bit of a resurgence at the moment, which we'll talk about. But I think part of that, it was kind of some of this like dumb, like, well, everyone's talking about Possession. What are we going to add to the conversation? But I think we finally reached the point where we're like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's force ourselves into that again. Really quickly though, Josh, what the fuck is Possession about?
So...
is it about like a little girl who's like possessed by the devil and like puking green soup and like an old priest and a young priest have to save her?
Thankfully, it is not.
Oh wow!
So to summarize, this is difficult. And by the way, we will be doing spoilers for this. Not that you can really spoil this movie, but it's hard to talk about without talking about a certain aspect of this. But anyway. Possession, Sam Neill plays an international spy who returns home to Berlin from some mission of some sort, which we only get vague details of.
East Berlin, specifically.
Yeah, to find that his wife, played by Isabelle Adjani, named Anna, wants to divorce him. This is, of course, very painful. They have a small child named Bob together, and her behavior becomes increasingly erratic. She starts disappearing for large swaths of time. They have very histrionic fights. He hires a detective to follow her. And then you find the horrible, strange truth, which we'll get to. And it's even hard to say what that is. I mean, everything about this movie is a little bit subjective. It's that kind of movie. So I don't know, anything to change or...
I think the important thing to know about this movie is that it was written by Andrei Zulawski following his divorce after his wife left him for another man.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's obvious. Like, had you
Yes.
not known anything about this director, you'd be like, oh, so he went through a really fucked up divorce and his wife left him for some other dude? Yeah.
It feels a bit like The Brood in that it feels like a
Yeah.
director's revenge for his painful divorce. And, you know, like as a person of divorced experience, it is probably the most traumatic and difficult thing that I've ever experienced. And that includes death and abuse and all sorts of other things. Divorce is really, really difficult under the best of circumstances. And I don't know why it's so much worse than like a breakup, but it is. It truly is just soul destroying. It takes years to get over, or at least it did for me. I can't speak for anybody else. But yeah, this movie really hits the nail on the head in terms of like how painful that experience is, which is funny because it's one of those things that's so mundane and normal. But when you're I guess it's like death, right? Like death is so every day and common, but when you're the one experiencing a loss, it feels like the whole world is crumbling.
I mean, divorce is so heavy and so important, so much more than a breakup, because a marriage is so much
Yeah,
more
I
intense and
guess
so heavy
so.
and important. And it is the death of a marriage. It is the death of
Yeah.
a union of two people as one person. So in a way, it is a death. And this movie takes every means possible to stop death in some interesting ways. I should also mention, so I have a long history with this movie. I first saw it when I was on my initial art house tear in high school, when in like 2011, 2010, when Possession was like talked about with bated breath as being like this insane movie that was super hard to find because it was cut down when it came to America. And every version of it is fucked up and like not the right version. However, like European copies of the director's cut were like leaking on sites online, and someone had uploaded that to YouTube.
Okay.
And so at the age of like 15, I think I watched this movie on YouTube and was like, what am I looking at? I don't know what's happening. I've seen it a lot more times since then. When I first moved out to Los Angeles, the Cine family did a screening of it on 35 millimeter, and I dragged a bunch of friends to it because this was, while it was still a little difficult to see. And I've owned a big velvety Blu-ray version of it for a long time. The last time I saw it, though, and this is kind of like the point of where I'm going with this, was almost precisely a year ago, before rewatching it for this. And it was right after I had gotten out of a very long, very emotional relationship and had a very, very, very kind of emotionally charged breakup. It was a very emotionally charged and, to some respects, quite toxic relationship, in the way, especially in the way that it ended. And the first date I went on after that relationship, which was like a month after that ended, was with a girl to go to a Beyond Fest screening of Possession. And listener, when I tell you that was a bad idea, I spent we had to queue up at the theater for a long time, and we're get to know each other, date banter, having a good time, get there, get to the theater, get to our seats. And for multiple reasons, it went bad so fast, in that almost as soon as the movie started, everything that the movie's going through about the emotional response to something like this hit me directly in my chest. I immediately had a breakdown and a panic attack and started crying through almost the entire film.
Oh, no.
And had to spend a good 20 to 30 minutes of the film in the bathroom of the theater. So that was already too much to experience. I'm still processing this traumatic end of a relationship, while in this movie that is the most traumatic depiction of the end of a relationship, while also doing it on a date with a potential romantic partner, which, spoiler alert, we did not end up dating after that.
Yeah, I guess not.
However, to make that even worse, it was a Beyond Fest screening
Mm-hmm.
that was sold out. And if you don't know the audience of Beyond Fest, it is a horror festival in LA. And it's a big deal and it always sells out. And they kind of pride themselves on showing fucked up movies and weird movies and cult films, specifically around the end of September, beginning of October. But that audience, maybe it was the way that Beyond Fest was marketing this movie, maybe it's Beyond Fest in general. The audience was in there to see a movie that was so weird and bad that they could make fun of it.
Oh, I know that's your least favorite thing.
It's one of my least favorite experiences of going to screenings in LA. And it happens to some of my favorite movies. Like, it has happened to Suspiria. It has happened to a number of movies that are very gorgeous and powerful and terrifying and emotionally resonant with me, where the majority of the LA audiences are like, this is so fucking weird and dumb. Ha 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 ha. And that was kind of the reaction to Possession. Now, granted, Possession does have humor.
Mm-hmm.
Very intentionally. It is, like, it does have a lot of, like, hefty dark comedy. But the laughs were primarily directed at Isabella Johnny's performance in any of the
incredible,
scenes.
stunning.
Which is incredible.
Won her Best Actress at Cannes the year that this premiered. It's an incredible
Rightfully so. So I spent that whole screening doing my best to hold back tears while everyone was laughing. One of the worst nights of my life.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as I kind of mentioned, Possession was hard to find for a while. It was restored maybe 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And then Metrograph has recently kind of taken that restoration and like done a whole new kind of campaign around it in the past year or so. That's revitalized a lot of people's awareness of this movie. What is your awareness and history of this movie before you came to it?
Well, really quick, since you mentioned Metrograph, I will say to the listeners, the only way that you can stream this is by going to Metrograph and downloading their app and renting it through them, because it is very hard to find. Otherwise, you can only rent the Blu-ray or buy the Blu-ray or DVD.
And the Blu-ray is very expensive.
Yes, it's out of print, so
it's not out of print. It's still in print.
It's just expensive.
It's just expensive.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw this in the early 2000s in New York with my roommate, who was like an art house person. And to be honest, I fell asleep like 20 minutes into it and woke up for the famous subway scene and then probably fell asleep again. And I don't even know what version that was. And that was before I was into movies like this. And so it just didn't, I knew of it and I had a recollection of that scene and how weird it was, but I didn't really see it until last year when I rented it in pandemic. I mean, I actually had tickets to see it at Beyond Fest, and then my friend Christian and I decided to go to Idlewild for the weekend instead, so we didn't go.
A better move.
Yeah.
Honestly, I should have gone to Idlewild that weekend.
So I don't have a long history with this except for knowing about it, knowing that it was hard to find, knowing that it was this really challenging intellectual European art house horror film. I think it's a perfect show for our podcast and for us to talk about it. And you sort of scratched at it. I mean, there is a real streak of anti-intellectualism within the horror fandom. And this movie is like the shining example of like that dichotomy of like, this movie's very beloved, but put it in front of the wrong audience, and they're going to think it's boring or too challenging or too arty-farty or pretentious or whatever.
It's so weird because so many people love Possession, especially in the horror community.
Yeah.
It has more, Zwolski is a European art house director.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like the only one that a lot of people know from him.
It's his only English language film.
Yes. And so it has more of a following in horror communities than it does in art house communities.
Mm-hmm.
which is unfair because I feel like it falls closer in the line of like a Fassbender movie
Yeah.
than it does. It even has some Fassbender actors in it than it does like a Carpenter or Cronenberg movie.
hmm
Cronenberg is the closest horror
The
analog.
Brood is the
Yeah.
closest horror analog.
Um,
Or Repulsion, maybe?
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about this movie is that like so many people, especially in the horror community, love it. But if you ask them what they love about it, you're never going to be able to know what their answer is going to be. Because some people are like, oh my god, it's a fucking masterpiece. It is so powerful and strange and beautiful. And the performances are incredible. And oh my god, it says so much. It connects to me so like beautifully. It's so powerful. And then other people are like, holy shit, that stuff's fucking insane. That movie's hilarious. She's so weird. It like somehow threads the needle perfectly for audiences as like some people view it as like Citizen Kane and other people view it as The Room, like at the same time.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about the media literacy in America.
Yeah. To me, what's so striking about this movie is that it really hits at how when you're getting a divorce or breaking up with somebody that you've been with for a long time, there's this thing that happens where, you know, perhaps you're not living in the same space anymore because it's a process, you know, breaking up or getting a divorce. And when you see that person that you spent so much time loving, they suddenly feel like a different person and it, like a stranger. And it's really bewildering and awful and upsetting. And this movie takes that and pretty much literalizes it. Like the thing that's happening, her behavior is becoming more erratic. She's disappearing for long stretches. And you come to find out through this detective that she has another apartment. And inside the apartment is some sort of creature that she is fucking. And it's like a slimy, gloopy, tentacled thing on a bloody bed. It's truly disgusting. The movie really takes its time before it introduces this. You get to see very little of it.
It's very much in the shadows.
Yeah. And then it's sort of suggested, I think, that she is growing a new version of Mark, played by Sam Neill.
Yeah. So one of the most interesting things about this movie is that exact
the doppelganger thing.
This movie is sold as like she fucks an octopus, and it's like, well, no,
not really.
not
yes,
not really.
But...
I mean, yes, but no.
Yeah.
It's very much what you were saying about after a relationship. This person that you've seen a specific way for years is now like a completely different mirror version that you don't know how to like understand. And both of these characters, in response to that, in response to this friction between the two of them, in their response to not being able to communicate and understand each other, and this weird way their relationship has formed in like very strained and upsetting ways, have kind of formed projections of their idealized versions of the opposite onto other things. So she is like Hellraiser style murdering men and feeding them to this like gloopy god creature in the corner of an abandoned apartment to slowly turn it into her idealized version of Sam Neill. Meanwhile, Sam Neill is like, well, she's fucked off. My wife is insane. My life is insane. He like reaches rock bottom and then he's like, I'm gonna build my life back together again. I'm gonna get it right back to where it was. I'm gonna take care of my son Bob and I'm gonna take him to school. Bob's teacher looks a lot like Isabella Adjani. I'm just gonna like absolutely project all of the parts that I liked and want about her onto this other woman. And she's gonna be Bob's new mom. So they both like develop this version of the other one, and his version of Isabella Adjani is like perfect mother. Her entire
literally
existence,
a kindergarten teacher.
is just to like serve the child and like make him feel better. Which, again, to the Brood is also much like how the father in the Brood kind of starts a romantic interest in their
with his daughter's
child's
teacher.
preschool
And
teacher.
to be clear to the listener, in case you haven't seen this movie, this kindergarten teacher is also played by Isabel Adjani, but with
Mhm.
contact lenses and a wig. So she literally is physically identical to his wife with minor differences.
Yeah. And it's a lot. I think the other thing that's really important to discuss is that Zwolski is a Polish director, and he lived and made films specifically in communist Poland. This was his first film not made in communist Poland because the government at the time shut down his film on the Silver Globe because they suspected that it was, despite being a science fiction film, critical of the government at the time. So this film was financed in France and co-written by an American screenwriter and is set in East Berlin very intentionally. And the opening shots of this movie are of the Berlin Wall and the crosses around the Berlin Wall where bodies were hung.
One thing really quick, it's actually West Berlin.
Oh, I thought this movie was set in East Berlin, not West Berlin.
No, I just looked it up. It's West Berlin. West Berlin is the non-communist side.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it is right at the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, the movie, the wall is like omnipresent the entire film.
Yeah.
Even like interior shots, you can see the wall through like windows. It is looming very ominous. And I mean, like, the direct thing there is that, like, yeah, it's a country torn down the middle and separated.
Yes.
Not unlike a divorce.
Yes, it's not subtle.
It's not subtle. Yeah, it's a very, very, very strong political message that he's weaving into this My Fucking Wife movie.
Do you think that this movie is misogynist? Since you bring it up. My Fucking Wife?
I don't think so. I don't think so directly. I think this movie has a really strong compassion for Anna's character, but I do think it also vilifies her character. But I think it equally vilifies Mark's character, Sam Neill. I think it takes I think he works through the trauma of his divorce in the writing of the script, in which it feels like he started writing her character first as being super fucked up and evil. And then the more he started writing it, the more he's like, well, actually, she's not the only one. And I read that he was really inspired by the way Tolstoy wrote Anna Karenina. Because apparently Anna Karenina was also a novel written initially with the intention of like being very upset at his wife. And it was initially going to be called The Devil. And she was very much like this frumpish, awful, evil woman. And the more he was writing it, the more he was like, well, actually, she's really beautiful, and she's actually incredible, and actually, these men suck. Damn it. Okay, no, it's called Anna Karenina.
Such a funny thing about writers. I once wrote a play about my really abusive boss, and then the character in the play was like deeper and more kind than that woman deserved, really. You know what I mean? Like,
I think
it's just a natural inclination.
I think it's one of the most beautiful things about this movie is that it feels metatextual while it's being textual and subtextual.
Yeah.
That like Isabella Adjani is like building this monster of her husband while Zwolski is building this monster of his ex-wife in Isabella Adjani. And they both come to love their creations.
Yeah.
So much. It's the performance style and direction in this movie should be commented on, because if you have not seen this movie or heard about it and then you just go into it, you're gonna be taken aback.
Yes, the performances are histrionic, I would say, is an understatement. The
Yeah.
fights that these people have, they're throwing chairs, they're screaming, it's like they're possessed. They're like contorting, screaming, sweating, literally
It
throwing
feels like
up, cutting each
ballet.
other. Yeah, it's beautiful.
There's
Um,
a scene at a restaurant where they like initially meet early on in the film to like discuss the nature of the divorce and like who's going to take care of their son. And it's all done in one shot with like a steady cam.
mhm.
And it's very like fly on the wall handheld. And they are sitting at opposite tables next to each other, just talking over their shoulder at each other. And it very quickly turns into like they're just flipping tables everywhere. It feels like a Pina Bosch performance.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you just mentioned the Steadicam. I think it's really the combination of the performances and the sort of dance-like quality and the Steadicam, which was still new. The Steadicam was invented in 1980 for The Shining, and this came out in 81. So it was brand new technology. And so the camera's constantly floating in this weird way, kind of like when we talked about Next of Kin. The camera's always like floating away from the characters and then floating back, and it's really beautiful and hypnotic. So you've got these crazy histrionic kind of dancey performances, and then this really beautiful, ethereal, constantly moving camera. And the quality that it creates is very dreamlike and bewildering, because what you're seeing is so upsetting, but then the camera is so beautiful, and it's a really cool, well-made movie.
I think you're really right about the cinematography being so like hypnotic and grounding, because it's kind of the thing that like it both pulls you closer into the insanity of these two characters and the emotion of these two characters, but it also like because of that you feel more even keeled and feel more relatable to them. If this was like locked off static shots of them just running around these sets giving these performances, it would feel a lot more detached and a lot more jarring. But the rhythm of the camera in relation to them helps like lull your brain into a sense of comfort, which is a weird word to use for this movie, that like puts you in lockstep with them. Even later in the movie, there's a scene where Sam Neill is kind of like at his breaking point and he's sitting in a rocking chair and he's just like flying in and out of frame. And he's just like a metronome for the scene, that like even when their bodies aren't like rocketing and ricocheting through this movie and they're not just like agitating with tension, they're still like keeping this pace going. And it's super upsetting.
Yeah, I mean, all of the set deck is kind of part of this too. So all of the sets are like the interiors of, tower blocks where everything is white and spare and minimalist. So there's like a really chic kind of early 80s chic quality to this. When minimalism was really in, black and white decors were really in. Everything is really simple and spare and chic. And yeah, I mean, the whole movie is just a vibe, really.
It really helps when they start like spattering blood and milk and eggs across the screen.
Which is where I was just about to get to. There's an infamous called the subway scene where Isabelle Adjani basically is walking down the tunnel towards the subway, and she has a grocery bag and she starts freaking out seemingly for no reason. She's smashing the groceries against the wall. Milk is getting everywhere. She's contorting and twisting and screaming. And then she crumbles to her knees and starts protruding blood and some sort of milky substance. And essentially she has a miscarriage of some sort, possibly from this monster creature. It's probably the most famous scene from the movie. It's the scene where I woke up when I had fallen asleep in the early 2000s to be like, what is this movie? There are very, very famous GIF reactions taken from this where someone will be like, oh no, the Starbucks is out of oat milk or whatever. And then it's a GIF of Isabelle Adjani freaking out and like hitting milk against the wall. It's such an upsetting scene. Her performance is so insane. I read a little quote by Sam Neill about this movie. First of all, this had a 12-week shoot schedule, which is bananas. But he said that this was the most extreme movie he's ever been in every possible way. There are things emotionally and physically that he did in this movie that he could not or would not do later in life. And he said this movie especially took a toll on Isabel Adjani, which you really see in this scene. I mean,
Yeah.
it must have been so much. And I know that they did it in 2 takes, but they mostly only used the first take because, the second take was really for safety to make sure they had coverage. But this was filmed at 5 a.m. in winter in Berlin when the subway was closed, of course, so that they could have it. And so it was just incredibly uncomfortable in every possible way. And then she's doing this histrionic, emotional thing at 5 a.m. in the subway. It's a lot.
It's so much, but I also think, to like piggyback of what you're saying, that like Sam Neill also gives an incredible performance in this movie.
Oh yeah, he's amazing in this.
An emotional intensity he's never given before or since.
Yeah.
And we praise Isabella Adjani up and down for her performance in this movie because it is, I mean, rightly so, like the centerpiece of the film. But Sam Neill is matching her every step of the way, and Adjani's performance wouldn't be what it is if she didn't have Sam Neill there to parry against, because he is, the way he uses his eyes and his mouth in this movie are incredible.
Yeah, and when we get the Sam Neill doppelganger, that guy is really unsettling.
He's terrible.
He's really scary.
Well, after a whole movie of everyone like turned up to 11, when this man shows up giving us like 0, he's so unsettling. There's so much behind his eyes. There's so much menace in there.
One of the last shots is him at the door of the apartment, and the little boy is like, "Don't answer it, don't answer it, don't answer it." And the kindergarten teacher, played by Isabel Gianni, who's now the wife, I guess, is going to answer the door, but you just see his silhouette through the like frosted glass of the door, and his hands are kind of up and he's backlit, and it's almost like Night of the Living Dead, a zombie is trying to get in, but it's just so unsettling and just pitch perfect.
And that poor kid hiding in the bathtub, like,
yeah, because he knows that it's not really his dad. You know what I mean? Like it's so cool.
It's not really his dad. It's not really his mom, but they've kind of like assumed the positions.
It's like Coraline, the other parents.
Well, as a child of divorce, it gives me the kind of vibe of like, from like the child's perspective of when, like, as someone who had parents who separated and got back together and separated and got back together and then finally divorced, it gives that feeling of like, oh, you guys decided to try and make it work. Oh God. Oh, that's worse.
Yeah.
Please don't. Please just stay apart.
Yeah.
I want to comment on the ending of this movie because it takes a turn that a lot of people find jarring. However,
jarring.
it is jarring, but it is also kind of like foreshadowed at the beginning by what you're saying, that like the thing that everyone forgets about this movie, like 5 minutes in, is that, oh yeah, Sam Neill's a spy.
Yeah, it's his job. He's an international spy.
And it's one of the aspects that, like, this movie really feels like Zawalski being like, this is so personal to me. I have to make it feel like a movie. I've got to add all this cinematic stuff. I've got to, like, make it feel as Hollywood as possible. I've got to make the performances huge. I've got to make the special effects and the horror huge. And I've got to give it, like, a big Hollywood ending. So, we have a chase scene that is very reminiscent of the end of Lost Highway, where we have Sam Neill on motorcycle being chased by police. We have bodies coming out of trunks, cars exploding, and massive shootouts, with them like finally leaning towards each other. And it ends with one of my favorite callback jokes of any movie ever. And after all of this insane turmoil of a movie, to give us a little button joke at the end is hilarious, because at the beginning of the film, Sam Neill is debriefing his employers on whatever
His
job
mission was,
he just came from, that he came back across the wall from doing. And the final question in his debrief is, does our subject still wear pink socks? At the end of the film, after an insane, huge shootout on a large staircase, we see a bunch of men, presumably either feds or police, raiding this area as we are just kind of left to follow the bodies of some of our characters. And one of these like men leading the raid, who we don't see his face, stops next to the camera to lean down and adjust his pant leg to reveal that he is wearing pink socks directly to camera, and then continues on down the massive staircase.
Yeah.
And it is such a silly little MacGuffin. It is such Zawalski's cute little like button at the end of this movie to be like, bye folks, thanks for having a good time.
But wait,
hope
is
you
it
enjoyed
a MacGuffin?
Possession.
Is it a MacGuffin though? Because I, as much as I watch nonlinear weird movies, especially for this podcast, my brain is very literal and it tries to make connections. And so the end of this movie makes me feel almost like it's revealing that this is somehow a bigger story than just this couple. Like something global is happening because you're hearing these helicopters, spies are involved. And so it made me feel like, oh, is this like Dawn of the Dead or so, you know what I mean? It's like something beginning in the larger world outside of this couple. And I don't know if that's just my brain trying to make that happen because I want to make literal connections.
I've never considered that. I mean, it might be part of Zawalski's very political kind of subtext to this movie, kind of attacking the like communist bloc era, mid-century communist Europe. But if so, it feels pretty oblique to me as an American in 2022.
Yes, it's very attenuated. Yeah.
It's super interesting. So, I mean, again, it all falls onto whether they're on the east or the west side of the wall, who are the villains, who is he spying for, things that we never know, things the movie is in remotely no interest in.
Yeah.
But the fact, I think for me, it seems that like that to me reads that not that this kind of thing, Dawn of the Dead style, is happening all over the world, but that the hugeness of their relationship, the hugeness of the trauma and the pain that they're going through is super insignificant to the like horrors of the world around them that are much more real and affecting everyone.
Well, that's interesting because that speaks to what we were talking about earlier about how divorce feels. Like it feels so huge to you, but is of no concern to the world around you, you know?
Yeah, it almost feels like this was going to happen anyway. And he could have prevented it had was he like kind of doing his job and not caught up in the divorce of it all. It almost feels like if you watched Rosemary's Baby and you got to the end of it, and then, or no, let me think of something more recent. If you watch Malignant or It Follows or something, and you got to the end of It Follows and you were like, oh my God, wow, woo. And then at the very end of it, like a drone pilot, like nuked all of our characters and you're like, oh yeah, like drone strikes are going on still too. Got it. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
This drama is small in the context of the world, and like it's nihilistic and funny all at the same time, and that's, I feel like, a really good encapsulation of this movie. I mean, Heinrich, the non-tentacle monster person that Isabella Adjani is also having a sort of affair with early in the film, has a like very silly kung fu moves that are still very dance
his performance
oriented.
is really wild.
He's super bisexual. He's super silly man. And he has a great death scene.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Anyway, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend Possession.
Love it. Love it. Shall we play Have They Seen It? The game where we speculate about whether notable figures have seen this movie.
Yes. Do you have anyone in mind, Josh?
Yeah. This movie gets compared a lot to Cronenberg's The Brood. So I wondered if David Cronenberg has seen Possession.
I think, yes. I think David Cronenberg has absolutely seen Possession. I think he would have seen it in France, either at Cannes or some other film festival around the
Mhm.
time it was made. This would have been when he was making Scanners, I believe, or when he was
Mhm.
like exhibiting Scanners. So not long after he made The Brood. So I feel like he definitely would have seen this movie and he would have had a blast.
Yeah, I think he would
Um,
really like this. Part of me wants to be like he would be jealous of it in some way, like, oh, I wish I had made that. Not in a mean, shady way to Cronenberg. Uh,
yeah.
but when
But
you
in the
see
same way that
great
we
art
feel
by,
about great films, that you're like, ah,
yeah,
damn.
you see great art made by someone who does the same art as you, and so you're like, fuck, I wish that I could make something like that, you know.
Because Cronenberg tends to also have a lot of these similar, though obviously different because they come from different backgrounds and experiences, but some of the similar political subtext and like sinister cabals running like tertiary in the background to his body of horror films. I mean, just look at Crimes of
Yeah,
the Future. That's a lot more forward facing. So it does feel like kin in that way, much
yeah,
more than Brandon Cronenberg movies do.
yes, agree.
So speaking of David Cronenberg to an extent, this is someone who later worked with David Cronenberg, but was initially planned for the role of Anna.
Okay,
So they wanted Isabella Johnny for this role up front. Her managers took a look at the script and were like, "Fuck no," and they wouldn't even give it to her. And they're like, "She's not going to do it. Don't even ask." And so Zawalski saw the movie My Brilliant Career,
mm-hmm.
which also starred Sam Neill, but he already had Sam Waterston in mind for the lead, which would have been a very different movie.
Wild to think about.
Wild. And so he was like, well, if we can't get Isabella Johnny, maybe we can get Judy Davis from My Brilliant Career and eventually of Barton Fink and Naked Lunch.
Yeah,
Um, and she ended up passing, and then she was basically going to be involved, and then they got Sam Neill, and it was like a whole, like, well, are we reteaming the two of them? That's kind of weird. So she
mm-hmm.
passed, and then the director of photography was friends with Isabella Johnny, and he was like, she would be great in this movie. Why aren't you guys using her? Anyway, do you think Judy Davis ever got around to finally watching Possession? Starring her friendly co-star Sam Neill.
I don't think so. I don't know why. I feel like she wouldn't bother. She would have been great in this. She's a great actress.
She's an incredible actress and
Yeah.
deserves much better than I feel like a lot of films have given her.
Yeah.
She had that spat in 1991 of dying at the hands of men with writer's block issues
Yeah.
in two movies from the same studio, which is weird, but she's a delight. She's great. She's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Great
an incredible
actress.
talent.
I mean, it's hard to picture this movie without Isabel, obviously,
I know.
but she would have been great, I bet.
Yeah, but I can't imagine this being the kind of thing she watches. I can't imagine this kind of thing Sam
No.
Neill watches.
No, totally. I mean, Sam Neill would never watch this if he wasn't in it. I don't think he's like rewatching it now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, and I feel like Judy Davis, if she passed on something, I feel like she would never bother watching it.
Do you have anyone else in mind?
Oh yeah, my turn.
Yeah.
We're going on a Cronenberg tear. We've already talked about this person, but the person that came to mind for me was Kristen Stewart. Do you think she's ever seen Possession?
Yes. I am certain Kristen Stewart has seen Possession, and she probably saw it at Cinefamily or something like that.
Don't you think she would love it?
Oh, yes, she'd be
She's
a
so
massive
chic.
fan. She's so chic. She has incredible taste. And I feel like this is the kind of movie where like she would spend the entire time just drooling over Isabel Johnny's performance and just like it's. I mean, it's not her mode of performance, but
No, she wouldn't.
But I would also love to see her take on this kind of role. Not this role specifically, but I would love to see Kristen Stewart going in that direct. I think that would be incredible. I'd love to see that.
Kristen Stewart's acting style is so subdued and quiet. It would be cool to see her try and do something that was like this huge and expressionistic. I love, we haven't mentioned Isabella Johnny's dress in this, which is very pretty. That's all I want to say about it. It's like my favorite color. And it's very pretty.
I think part of the reason why I want to see Kristen Stewart do something like this so bad is that I went into this movie only knowing Isabella Johnny from the Walter Hill movie, The Driver,
Oh, I haven't seen that.
with Ryan O'Neal and Bruce Dern, which basically like Drive and Baby Driver and all of those movies are just like stealing from whole hog. It's like super minimalist, super clean. There's 3 characters. Their names are the driver, the girl, the cop. They don't have names. They barely have any dialogue, and they're just like driving around the streets, committing heists, trying to get away with it, brooding. And it's super great, super minimal. And she gives a super like toned down, crazy like small performance.
Yeah.
That says a lot. So when I went from that to this, I had whiplash, and I want K-Stu to do the same.
Yeah, see, I've only seen 3 Isabella Johnny movies, I think, and this was the 3rd of them. So I've seen The Tenant, I've seen
yes.
Herzog's Dracula, and this, which she doesn't really have much to do in those other 2 movies comparatively. So I didn't know that she was this good until I saw this movie. I was like, holy shit, she's astounding.
I mean, she gives Polanski a handy in a Bruce Lee movie. She does
During
a
a
lot
kung
in The
fu movie.
Tenant.
Yes.
That's fair. I love her. I think K-Stu would adore this movie. Yeah. This movie came out in 1981. It was shot and set in Germany. And it was very much a political and emotionally charged drama from certain angles. And it co-stars Margit Carstensen.
Yes. Who's
who
your
is
fave?
one of my favorite actresses of all time.
Yeah.
Famously, is like best known for her performances in the films of The Beloved and very fucked up Rainer Werner Fassbinder, who would eventually pass away in 1982. However, he was alive in 1981. Do you think Fassbinder saw Possession?
How sick do you think he was?
He wasn't sick. Oh, he wasn't sick. He didn't die of being sick. He died of doing too much cocaine.
Oh, I don't know that much about Fassbinder, and you said he died in 1982, so maybe
he died in 82 at the age of 37 from an OD.
Because he's queer, and you said 82, I just assumed that he died of AIDS, and I didn't know any different. So
no, he made he made almost 50 movies in his 37 years of life. One of them is 16 hours long. Nah. Cocaine overdose.
I've seen a bunch of them. I just didn't know how he died. In that case, then yeah, of course he saw this. I mean,
I feel like he would have like gone to the premiere with Margit on his arm.
Yeah.
And he would have loved this movie.
Speaking of Fassbinder, this does have a queer element too, because the detective is gay. The detective disappears, and then the other detective is like, that's my boyfriend. I'm going to go find him. It's a small thing, but it is appreciated. And the movie's
like
not judgmental
really,
about it.
It's really delightful. It also weirdly reminds me a bit of the detective from Argento's Four Flies and Grey Velvet. Who also like solves the mystery, much like this guy does. And is gay, and pays the price for being too smart and too gay.
There's a gay person in Deep Red as well, right?
There's a gay person. There's multiple gay people in Deep Red. One of which is intentionally played by a person of the opposite gender to appear more gender fucky, and Deep Red intentionally plays with the quote unquote man in a dress killer trope of Psycho to invert it. Because
we should do Deep Red soon.
We should do Deep Red. I talked on our friend Annie's podcast, Girls, Guts, and Giallo, about Deep Red, specifically about that and how much I love what Argento does with that movie. Yeah. But one final note with that gay detective, I noticed something on this rewatch of Possession, and then I kind of like did some Googling around because I was like, is that right? Is that what I'm seeing? And I found other people online being like, I think that's what that is. So there's a scene when the detective is following Isabella Johnny, eventually up to her secret second apartment. And they kind of get more manic and start following each other faster and faster and faster. And just as she goes inside the entrance to her apartment building. They're like right next to the Berlin Wall. He kicks a bit of trash and then like runs up the stairs. That's not trash. It's a human head.
Oh my God.
It's like in a big wide shot, and he like kicks it like a football at the camera. And I was like, what? What is that? That looks like
God.
is that hair? And I like scrubbed back and like got closer, and I was like, that's a fucking head.
Holy shit.
What the shit?
Oh my God. I did not notice that at all.
I've seen this movie like 6 times. I'd never noticed that before.
Oh my God.
So thanks for the restoration.
Well, I think that's it for this episode of Bloodhouse. Please rate us on all of the things that you listen to podcasts on. You can email us at bloodhousepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, bloodhousepod. Drusilla, where can people find you?
You can find my Pretty Little Arts over at sisterhydedesign.com. I'm also on Instagram at Hyde Sister, and I'm on Letterboxd. What about you, Josh?
At Joshua Conkle on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. So, one question remains. What will we be watching next week?
Next week, we will be watching one of the best modern cult horror films, from acclaimed horror filmmaker Karen Kusama. That is very much talked about and beloved. That's right. Nope, it's The Invitation. Fuck you, it's The Invitation. We're doing The Invitation instead.
Yay, Miss Kusama. Can't wait. Love it. See you next week.
Bye.